And once again, like to welcome all our delegates to join the team of VANI.coach at the partner booth. Connect with them and see how you can up your growth stories. A lot coming up in this fireside chat with Skilling at Scale. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to Mr. Mustafa Syed, co-founder, CBO, Executing Growth Strategy, VANI.coach. Let me also present to you Mr. Ashish, co-founder, director, VANI.coach, and a very warm welcome to Ms. Harpreet Pannu, Head Sales and Marketing Academy, CIPLA. So a lot more coming up, all for you.
Thanks for the introduction, Isha. So firstly, we're really excited to be over here at this inaugural LinkedIn Learning Economic Times L&D Summit. And we're really thrilled to have Harpreet join us over here. So in order to just get kick-started off with our conversation over here, Harpreet, it was lovely connecting with you and hearing some of the great best practices and some of the initiatives you've been driving at CIPLA. So to start off with, could you please share with us some of your best practices when it comes to driving levels of learning experience with regards to an upskilling at scale?
So thanks, Mustafa, and glad to be here and speaking with all of you. So we are within CIPLA, we are mapped to around 10,000 sales force and around 250 plus marketeers. So we do get a lot of opportunities to skill up at scale. And while we do that, there are some interesting things that I would like to share. The first is, I think each one of us need to learn a lot of lessons from what's happening in the world around us. And today is the time about customer obsession. For people who are in the learning space, it's a time about learner obsession. We need to understand what works for people. Gone are the times when you can pull people into a classroom and make them listen to what you would like to teach them. So I think at the onset of it, you need to embed within yourselves that every time you need to ask yourself a question that if the learner had a choice to switch a channel and to switch a program, would he still continue to be in your program or not? Having said that, I'll share some of the examples of what we have done within CIPLA. To start with, I think we have accepted that the learner of today, in our case, 50-60% of them are millennials, are a lot more empowered than what they used to be. And with a very, killing our ego, we have accepted that content will not be created only by us. We will have to let people create and co-create learning content along with us. And my biggest learner there is the TikTok and the popularity of it, because it empowers people to create their own content and to, there be democratization of learning, like I call it. So having said that, but we have also completely transitioned. So we did 7 lakh plus hours of learning in the last 1 year, and all of it was virtual. So we completely transitioned into the virtual world. Having said that, for learner experience, the first thing is my facilitator has to be different from what he used to be in the past. So we've done a lot of capability building initiatives for our internal facilitators, be it instructional design for a virtual world or facilitation for a virtual world, building competencies for a virtual world. Second is we have invested proactively as an organization on tools to enhance engagement, which could be tools like Kahoot, Mentimeter, Padlet, better presentation style. So a lot of investment has gone into which tools do suit us better or not. We've used a lot of breakout rooms, caselets. So the whole program design actually is now changed from a lot of one-to-many to a group discussion kind of a thing that is happening today. So I think that is the broad thing on what we have done. And parallelly, while we do that, we have done one more initiative that I would like to talk about, which I mentioned on the TikTok lines. We've created a virtual library of content. And the content comes from all of the 6,500 people who are customer facing as well as our managers. So yes, we have some checks and in point, but today, like on a Netflix, and I like to call it the Netflix of CIPLA, you could go and search on a particular content type coming from people and displayed by us. So we are sort of more aggregators of how learning can happen amongst peers and for the larger audience. Yes.
Absolutely fantastic, Harpreet. We need more organizations like CIPLA who invest in the upskilling of people, because the future of work is constantly evolving. One of the things you talked about was the investment which is going in, which brings me to the next question, which is around the learning outcome. Because as an organization, as we invest, we'd also want to see what is the return being derived. So would we need to understand how CIPLA tracking learning outcome of these different investments being made? Are there some leading lagging metrics inside? So any insights you can share which will help other organizations also implement your best practices?
I think, Ashish, that's a very relevant question and being mapped to all business functions. So, my largest stakeholders are the sales people who only think sales and business and return on investments. I think as a learning and development, and within CIPLA, we are actually a part of the commercial excellence team. So I think some of it comes naturally because we are there to optimize the sales force effectiveness, the capability build and all of that. And we are very, very well equipped with the numbers and all that. But when I step back, I think on ROI, before we get into the ROI, the first question that we need to ask ourselves is that what are we doing? Why are we doing? And then how do we measure success before we enter into a program? So when my team comes to me, and I have a large team, around a 30 plus people team, when they come to me, there are two questions I ask them. What are we trying to solve for? One, and how does this align with the larger strategic perspective of the organization? Having said that, once we are sure that we know that we want to do a particular thing, and why I'm calling it out is because post-COVID especially, and I was having a chat with Mustafa the other day that, geography has become history. Logistics is not a challenge. We can connect with anybody every time. So business and leaders expect us to do so much more. I mean, we are easily doing double of what we used to do last year. So while measuring outcome, and before we get into that also, we should know where to draw the line and say no. So we should firstly do only things that we feel will add value is the first thing. Second is there are different metrics that we use. For example, we have around 1,500 people who already joined us within this financial year. So for new joiners, ROI is measured in terms of the turnaround time for their onboarding process. How quickly are they trained on processes? So number of queries that come around processes, has that gone down or not? How quickly do they start winning our business incentive programs? So that means how quickly are they really market ready? Would be something we would use for new joiners. In the broader perspective, CIPLA will grow if our big brands will grow and if our new launches become successful. So we have a very strong alignment on capability on the big brands, the learning shift on big brands. We do a lot of skill measurement on the big brands. We had the largest COVID portfolio in the country. So we had to overnight launch these products, so how quickly have the doctors' queries gone down on these brands are all some of the metrics that we have been using. And lastly, but very, very importantly, we have a lead and lag on the business side, the performance matrix. Parallelly, within the learning, we have a sales capability created, which is a 2x2 of knowledge and skill. So we are now not doing one shoe fits all. We are doing a lot of cohort-based learning. And I must mention there's a program that I'm also doing on communication skills with VANI. Again, any program that we are doing, we are identifying the right cohort for the right program. And I think the returns are a lot stronger because of that.
Great. Thanks for sharing that, Harpreet. So, in fact, at VANI, what we pride on Synchronous platform, which is a coach-led communication program where we provide skilling at scale. But what I'm aware of is some of the work that you've been doing at CIPLA. You've been managing some large projects. So I think as a final question over here for an audience, running large-scale upskilling initiatives must involve, managing several moving parts. Is there any, I'd like to use the word secret, which you can share with the audience over here with regards to how your team manages these large-scale operations so smoothly?
So Mustafa, we are a large organization, yes, and we are, as a sector, we've done very well in the over the years, and so there is lots of activity that happens at all times. We are present with over 2,000 SKUs. So the brand launches, brand extensions, all of that keeps happening very, very quickly. Parallelly, we also market the product which is 10 rupees up to a product which is 1 lakh rupees a month. So there's a lot of diversity in the kind of capability building that we need to do. I will pick up one or two examples here. And one is that we are humans and not superhumans. So process orientation on what is it that you will do and what is it that others will do. I think in today's time, everybody in every organization should be trained on project management. Because the scrum way of doing things, how do you align and make small milestones for yourself? How do you measure the success of a program? Also, being cross-functional teams, we are sitting on the sidelines, we need to identify which all cross functions will need to come together. And sometimes it is internal as well as external partners need to come together for a program. So I think everybody needs to know who's doing what. So the DRIs for various things and the measurement of success, if it is good, then any scale up can happen up to, as big as we want it to be. Second is, and I think here again, I take a lot of learning from the logistic companies. How do they manage? So we pick up things from how do IT companies manage multiple projects at the same time. But I will just take one example of a program called eSprout, which is our onboarding program. We do it for 50 plus business units with diverse types of projects. We have done 150 batches in this financial year within the team of the 20, 30 people that I have. And how we manage to do this is we break up the large tasks. So capability building is like a child. For bringing up a child, the whole household needs to come together. Building capabilities, the entire organization needs to come together. So the first thing we do is, I am not a team of 30 people. I am a team of around 200 people. Along with my team, I have a structured group of learning ambassadors who are trained and certified and who are actually sales folks or marketing folks, but partner on our learning programs. So these are the high potential who are used for engagement on learning programs. So they are kept engaged and they are kept motivated. So one is we do that, a very, very strong network of these people. We also call them dronacharyas. Second is that alongside doing that, a very strong operational governance of the work that we are doing. So there is a very structured way of doing it. We do not pull people out. There are dashboards that are made and published. And the third thing is, for any large scale skilling or any program in L&D, the top leadership buy-in is so important. And the feet on the ground, what are they feeling about your program and how is it impacting them, are equally important. So as a learning leader, I balance on both. We spend a lot of time with the business stakeholders, understanding what we are trying to solve for. And we spend a lot of time in listening hours with people whom we are doing programs for. And like you mentioned with your own example, programs need to be skilled up, but scaled up, but they will need to be hyper-personalization. So it could be a technical training, it could be a soft skill training. If you need to go large, you cannot do the same thing for everybody. You need to bifurcate people in different cohorts and then look at who needs what. And I think naturally then you will see a lot of success and buy-in. And once business understands the value that you bring to the table, we are a part of all strategy meets. We are a part of very closely knitted with everybody. So I think then a lot of impact comes naturally.
Thanks for sharing that, Harpreet. I think we have Isha already over here. So I think I'll pick up your last word about hyper-personalization. And, at VANI, we believe that if no two fingerprints are the same, why must individual's learning roadmap be? So thank you for that, Harpreet. I hope the audience, at least I personally, stood to gain a lot from what you've shared. And anything from your side, Ashish?
For me, the biggest takeaway is that at one end, we need a strong spirit of experimentation, which is quite evident in the kind of work Harpreet and team are doing. At the same time, it needs to be backed by a strong discipline of execution. So I feel that these are the two things that learning leaders can invest in to be able to really transform how learning takes place over the coming decade. So thank you for sharing your views, Harpreet.
Thank you, guys. Isha, over to you.
It was a pleasure being here today, and thank you so much for having me. All the best for the subsequent sessions.
Thank you. Thank you, Harpreet.
Thank you so very much, Ms. Pannu, of course, Mr. Syed, Mr. Cha. It's been a pleasure listening to all three of you converse. And of course, skilling at scale. This is exactly what we are looking forward to learning, and who better than the team from VANI.coach. In case any of you would like to connect with them, they'll be more than happy to tell you more about how can they be a part of your success story. So please do connect with them at the partner booth. There's a lot happening right here. Our next session is a keynote address on looking ahead of leadership leadership programs to leadership strategies. But very shortly, we'll be introducing to you our next speaker. So please do stay tuned.